that keeps what's supposed to be inside inside, what's outside outside. So making houses more sustainable and reducing their carbon footprint of the extra energy that they're exerting to heat or cool. A lot of new technology along those lines, as well as new recycled products that they're using instead of they're cutting waste.
Yeah.
So new paneling, new flooring, things along those lines as well to cut waste.
And what I'm really hearing is that the definition itself of sustainability is being extended, to such a great degree that it's touching every single product or category now, from water efficiency to energy efficiency and electronic products to how you manufacture the products. All of these are being built more and more efficiently because it's being more marketable. But of course, we'll get to that, a little bit more of that a little bit later. We'll stick with the introduction. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing this week.
Yeah, I'm Ian Rogers, and this week at the IBS show, I've seen a lot of modular and prefab construction projects and companies that are here at the show. And sustainability-wise, they have a huge impact in the amount of materials and supplies it takes to get a construction project done. They cut down a lot on waste, and then they also cut down a lot on your embodied carbon of a project. And they're just a lot more efficient and sustainable when it comes to making large developments or large project homes. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and then I've seen a lot of 3D homes being built. A lot of companies are producing that now, which is also a similar idea. Cut down a lot on your materials and your embodied carbon of a project.
And the thing I think about, whether it be modular, factory built, 3D home, we talked about the nomenclature and variability of those sorts of projects, is that while we talk about like micro sustainability with single products, like a new subflooring that's made with some sort of composite or something like that, those sorts of modular 3D printing, these new building systems, they have such an expansive sustainability reach. I mean, we're talking about whole communities that are built differently, and that would make just such a great impact. But yeah, we'll keep going. Not a student on the end, but a leader in the industry.
I'm Betsy Scott. I run programs and engagement for the Housing Innovation Alliance. We have 2,000 companies in our network, and ESG is one of our 5 big missions. And I see it really intertwined with a lot of other things that we're seeing at the show. And this is my 17th IBS, and I actually got here a day early because we're partnered with Green Builder Media and about 75 other companies to help create ESG for home building guidelines, since ESG is traditionally very chemical, big impact, industrially focused, and we always don't get the impact that we want to get as an industry. Yeah. So we're working with the likes of MyTech and Thrive Home Builders and Younger Homes, who gave an awesome presentation this morning that really showed the intersection of off-site construction and building information modeling and trying to build more attainable housing for police officers and school teachers, and really developing the community that they're working on in
Texas, right?
In Austin. So very interesting. And the owner, Jesse, and his wife, Danielle, he is a mechanical engineer by trade. So he was talking about, but his dad was a home builder, so he was talking about the intersection between the mentality of a manufacturer or engineer and the role of a construction person. Really, it's kind of blending those two things is the sweet spot to get the efficiencies, to reduce waste, to make something more cost effective. Yeah. So that was a really great discussion this morning, and kind of a nice bookend, because Younger is also part of the ESG working group that we're.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Younger is not only working to build more sustainably with using modular systems, or at least trying to achieve that modular system, but they're working customization of homes into that modular system. I know they want to build these homes with certain modular pods that they can, assemble them in a variety of ways, such that you don't have these like cookie cutter, they have to be assembled this certain way, where, historically, at least in our industry, modular has been. He's trying to blend not only engineering or manufacturing, in home building, but also customization in everything that comes along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, as a smaller builder, he's doing that. And years ago, it's similar to, if you've seen Shea 3D, a product that they did in Phoenix. It's similar to that concept where you have maybe 3 or 4 different layouts of the kitchen, and you have other pieces and parts that you put together like little Lego blocks, and you can create 25, 30 different looking products that are different price points and sizes, but you're really only building the same pieces over and over again and just putting them together in a different fashion. So they did a really nice job. I've also seen people are doing a great job of making their stories and their value propositions more relatable visually, so you can kind of understand. Another thing they talked about that I thought was fascinating is they're using drone footage, or not drone footage. They're using Google 3D or SketchUp of their property to get over some of the NIMBYism that you run into with consumers saying, well, I don't want to be able to see all of those tops of those houses. So they're showing where they're strategically leaving trees. So they're actually they're flying people over this community that they're developing in 3D to show them that it's, taking their view as a current resident of that area into account, and the topography of it. So I thought that was really interesting to pull the design in there as well as the construction.
Well, it shows how just forward thinking they are, and just how they're able to sort of anticipate problems before they even arise, which I just think is a brilliant report. But as we mentioned, you guys are students, so I would like to talk a little bit about the specifics of what you're studying and how you think sustainability will play into that role, not only now as a student, but postgraduate, and what you hope to accomplish as a professional, hopefully in the field, but who knows where you might go. So Alexis, we'll start with you if that's all right.
Yes, so I am a Master's of Management student with a concentration in construction management. And my biggest thing that I have seen, especially at the conference, but also in my studies, is ESG and how important that's going to be. So I was at the workshop with you as well, Betsy, and that's going to be the new industry standard for home builders, for these smaller manufacturers, for just products in general. That's going to be something that they're really going to have to move towards, and it's going to change the way they run their businesses. I think you're going to see a huge financial impact with them wanting to show their consumers and their customers and their buyers that we are doing certain things to help the environment and give back, while also giving you a product that's good for the environment, that didn't hurt and make things worse. So I think that's a big thing that you'll see in the future, and it's going to be across all fields, not just construction. It's going to be in everything, tech, marketing, you name it. ESG is going to be the new standard. So I think that's my biggest thing. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Betsy, to go on that for just a second, I definitely think that, and you see it all in the marketing. If you look at the IBS show floor, K-Bez, you'll see plugs for sustainability in products all over, from appliance manufacturers, subflooring to HVAC producers. But at the same time, sustainability, there comes a point where it's expensive to do because the investment's not there. But the investment is coming, obviously, which is then going to push down the price. Do you see that happening, Betsy? And what do you think the timeline is for sustainability really being the commercial standard?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that I know that there are municipalities. There are lots of ways to skin a cat, if you will, or to actually frame what you mean by sustainability. But I do know a lot of investors, a lot of municipalities. I know the city of Denver is really aggressively looking at carbon neutrality. And so I think that we're moving to an era where people are going to have to figure out how to make it work, because it is going to be, whether you're chosen to be a builder, to be part of the development, you have to have that You have to prove that you are pursuing the same values that that municipality or the developer or the investor wants. It's going to be the difference between getting funding. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are looking at creating standards for that as well. It's going to be the difference of being a preferred builder in a community. It's going to be the difference of certainly with consumers as well. So I think, it's very hard to put a time frame on anything because we move as slow as molasses as an industry.
Yeah.
Not to give you another a cliche, but it's true. So it's hard to put a time frame on it, but Denver, I think, is supposed to be carbon neutral new construction by 2025.
Yeah, 2024, 2025.
I think it was earlier, and
Yeah.
the industry pushed back a bit. But yeah, by 2025. So we just kind of have to move there. But as we see going around and hearing people's stories of the design choices that they're making and the processes that they're going through, there's an opportunity, I think, to get there in a more cost-effective way.
Yeah.
If you take the holistic approach when you're looking at your strategy, there are things that you can streamline in the construction process that help save some of that money.
Yeah.
You can get government incentives, you can get preferred interest rates. So you kind of have to look at it not just as the first cost that you normally would look at it, like the construction and the materials, but what's the bigger cost picture? And what's the cost to your brand if you don't do it now?
Well, even I was talking with a sales rep from LG Electronics yesterday. We were talking about their inverted heat pump water heater, which is a really nice, super efficient water heater. And in California, it's pretty expensive to install because you have to have a new electrical circuit put in just to have the water heater run. But if you go to someplace like Vermont, where you still have to have the electrical circuit put in, the government subsidies for that kind of work being done in your home are so great that it's going to pay for that. So depending on the state, there are a lot of incentives to get people to build more like this. And not to keep talking products, we are at IBS actually, so ignore that apology. I was at Carrier the other day, and we were talking about some of their new products and the refrigerant that they use in their HVAC systems. They use a refrigerant that they expect that is going to be the regulation in about 2 years, but they use it now because it's more efficient. And so the idea is that even the products you're building your home with, and these aren't products that you can't do without an HVAC system, really, because depending on where you are and how creative you build, you kind of have to have an HVAC system. And so the products going into the home build are becoming more efficient themselves. So just homes are becoming more efficient naturally, but if builders were to get on board with that and improve their system, improve their processes, it would just get there a lot quicker.
Yeah, and even talking to some of the bigger builders, they're saying, with the code changes that are coming, the cost of change itself is massive. So if they know they're going to have to move somewhere, why pay for that cost of change twice? Why not move toward that end and deal with the pain once, and then know that your business is more resilient?
Exactly. The difference between short-term and long-term vision, I guess.
Yeah.
And Ian, I did not forget you. Another student we have with us. Ian, please tell us a little bit about what you're studying and how you think sustainability is going to work into that, currently and post-graduation.
Yeah, so currently I'm an undergrad at DU. I am studying real estate with a focus on property development. And post-grad, I'm hoping to either get into land or property development, something along those lines. But I can see with a lot of the innovations that we've previously mentioned and that are here today, like building a whole neighborhood in a sustainable or in a modular or an offsite building method can have such a big impact on the whole market of the construction industry, because you're building, say, hundreds of thousands of homes. If each one of them is built with a new practice, then it can have a big effect long term. So I think as these things become the standard and these things become more competitive and innovative, then it's going to be a lot easier. And it used to be a time where sustainability was a premium, and now it's more moving towards sustainability being cheaper and faster and more cost effective for the owner. So yeah, I could just see the whole market starting to shift towards a more sustainable way of building.
Well, as a future community developer, this is something we also talked about yesterday, if you watched yesterday's show, and which really intrigues me is that you're thinking of land development not only in a sustainability mindset, but also an affordability. Housing affordability is probably the number one problem in the housing industry in the United States. And not enough people talk about it, but I love to see these young leaders coming up like you thinking that way, like how can we make larger communities more affordable? Does affordability play into your mindset? I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it does sound like it's playing in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, affordability is something that's important to a lot of people in America right now. And I mean, with interest rates in the current housing market, you have to have other alternatives than what's currently out there. So yeah, I think affordable housing is on everyone's mind, and yeah, as I stated, it's definitely something that I would be interested in. Excellent.
And do you, Betsy, with the Housing Innovation Alliance, is affordability something that's on your plate, sort of marrying sustainability with affordability?
I was talking to someone earlier and I loved how they said it because I always struggle with the term affordability or the term attainability, and I lean toward attainability, but it's still really hard to define. They said something that really resonated with me. We need to build housing that's affordable, but we're not focused on affordable housing because that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
And I think IDS is really focused on how can we do much better things market rate at different price points that will satisfy the school teachers and bus drivers as well as the McMansion owners, all the way down the line, multi-generation families, just people who have different living situations that they're looking for, different levels of commitment that they want to make. So I think there's an opportunity to do, you were talking a lot about the attainable aspects of reducing waste and making the construction process more affordable. There's also some great opportunities on the finance side that I think we need to talk more about, changing the dynamic of the traditional mortgage so that it's more of that there are more opportunities, and build for rent is one of those, but I think there's a lot of other things that we can explore as an industry that make it more palatable, because we're a sharing economy. We don't have the same desire, not everybody has the same desire to own and be tied to a house for 30 years. So I think we need to start thinking differently that way, but I would definitely say absolutely our biggest mission above the 5 things that we're focused on in general, which are ESG and design and build, like offsite tech and data and talent, because we have a huge talent issue. And then we call build for rent and things of that nature and different financial models, home as a service. But ultimately, all of these things together are that as the US, we should be able to all afford quality housing, no matter whether we're making $30,000 a year or $300,000 a year. And other places are doing it, and I think it's time for us to get more in that game.
And it's not just affordable in the sense of purchasing, but also once you have purchased and you're there, your bills need to be affordable. There's other aspects of it that go into it that are also being evaluated, especially at IBS, is you can't, if you buy a house and that's affordable, but your electric bill every month is $400, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Because that's not affordable. That's not affordability.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes a lot of people out of the market as well. So I think you'll see there's gonna be a lot of big changes in both the overall cost, but also the weekly, monthly, yearly cost of the upkeep and things along those lines, is building something that's sustainable and can stay in a certain realm and not be falling apart and cost even more down the road.
No, certainly. And from a macro level, that sustainability being built into homes, you're taking that tax on infrastructures that are already just
massive.
out. Yeah, and depending on what state you're in, I'm not going to name any names, but it can be pretty tough, and you somewhat want to be separated from that a little bit. But before we get back to the show, because there's a lot more exciting things to go out there and see, Do you guys want to plug anything? Betsy, do you have anything to plug? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, so we've been kind of touring the show looking for solutions for builders in the Denver market, for offsite construction providers. Something that I would love to hear if anyone has a solution for drywall that can be installed more quickly and with less pain.
I'm sure
That's
there's someone out there
That's like a 10-year request on our side. But the Housing Innovation Alliance has always been focused on innovation in the industry and kind of connecting people together. But we, for our summit this year in Denver with the University of Denver in April, we are doing a pitch fest. So if you're out there, and I saw some really crazy cool companies in the startup zone, like Bot Built, and you made me think of Terran, the mud people who are using drones to drop mud. And like they're using the waste on job sites. They're using the dirt that's being pulled out and hauled away. They're recycling it, and that they can recycle it in essence to build attainable, affordable housing. So, but if you have a cool idea that helps with ESG, that helps with the efficiency and the affordability and the quality of construction and the design and build process, or with AI, there's lots of cool AI stuff out there. Look for the Housing Innovation Alliance and look for the word Pitch Fest, or you can find me on LinkedIn, reach out to me and try out for it, because you could win $5,000 from us in a couple of months and meet 300 people who might invest in you or buy from you. Yes.
Making ideas.
Students can do it too, so yes, you'd be eligible to apply too. So look for that, please.
All right. Well, that's Afternoon Buzz Day 2. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.